Hi, Luana from Raw Twister Studio here. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some experiments I've been doing. I want to be able to create whatever thickness and shape of a copper substance that's going to go between, say, these two rocks. And we're looking at some stabilized rainbow fluorite, opalized fluorite. And so that when the blade, like this one, this napped blade, so when the blade goes in, would go in between, and whatever the thickness of the blade is, I would have a epoxy copper stripe running down the handle. I want to kind of make it kind of like a signature thing. So I'm doing some experiments. But so far what I've found is for the products that I had in-house, we as artists, we collect all kinds of goodies. And so I was watching a video recently with Lapidary Dave, and he was using a Bondo and copper powder to back his products. So like turquoise and gemstones. And so that got the old brain. I was still suffering with that, with the flu, but I had got my brain going. So I ordered this. It is copper powder. This is the, what I think, 540 grain. No, the 350 grain. And so it's really, really fine copper. And so I did some more research on the web, and I found that you could use all kinds of things to tint epoxy. So I didn't have like any of the table pour epoxy or any of that. I've never dabbled in that yet, but I guess I'm going to have to do that. So if anyone's listening and they have a brand recommendation of epoxy, I'd really appreciate that. So the first thing I did was I had this huge container of UV resin epoxy. And so it's the hard type, so it's supposed to set up really, really hard. Hi, Shelly. Hi, Sharon. And so the problem with that was that it, of course, it has to have a UV light or set in sunlight to cure. But the problem is that it won't cure where the sun doesn't shine. Ha ha! Won't cure. Ha ha ha. Aw, thank you, sister. I appreciate that. And so, as you can see, it's the right color. And I got my recipe from what people use to mix tint. And a lot of the tints are metallic. So you do 1 part epoxy, 1 part hardener, and 1 part tint. So what I had to do with this one, because this one doesn't have a hardener, I just did a 2/3 resin and 1/3 copper shavings. But it didn't dry. I set it under the UV light over and over and over, and then in a window. And so there's still liquid resin in there. So that was a fail. The next product I tried was this Gorilla epoxy, sets up in 5 minutes, clear. It's supposed to be hard. And so what I expected it to set up would be like solid. And so this is from my little mixing bowl. Isn't this cute? Look at this little thing. Isn't that cute? So I thought when this came out of here that it would be solid. But when this was just the remnants that was left from the pour, it wasn't. It's just plastic. And I know epoxy is plastic, but totally not what I expected. And this has been curing for over 24 hours. So it might get a little harder, but not much. Fail. So my next, I did do, I did another mix with that, another pour. Now this one seems to be, better. So when you use this stuff, it has a double plunger. So they come out equally, supposedly. And then you mix it for a good 30 seconds. And then you've got very limited time to mix it, to do anything with it. So I mixed that in this little cute little thing with 1 part hardener, 1 part epoxy, and 1 part of the copper dust. And I poured it into this little, this little mold. This is supposed to make it look like a agate or a geode. And so this did actually, it's still, I mean, it's been 24 hours. The thin part, still flexible. Don't like that. That's not going to do it. But the other part that was actually in the mold, I mean, it's still flexible, but it is harder. Still not cool. And I'll work more on, as I master this, what it looks like. Hi, Maya. Thanks for being here. And so my next step was to go with JB Weld. This is what I have been using. I use this to mount my bolo fittings on the back of stones. I appreciate that, Maya. And I use it for stuff like that. One of the things that... Oh, Maya, thanks, dear. I appreciate it. One of the things that I did really expect this to set up really hard, because I have used it. It's supposed to be okay to glue stones together. It's good for, it's recommended for glass. And it does have, it says it's 5 minutes until it's dry, but it's supposed to set up hard in just a couple hours, and it's been 24 hours. So I had great faith in this. I didn't have a mold for the shape I wanted to make. So I used a baggie and some pencils and kind of just made it down, put that down in there. Now I marked on the baggie, but the first thing that it did was act like silly putty and take the Sharpie right into itself. So yeah, don't use Sharpie if you don't want the color to rub in. Excuse me. And so this is closer to what I'm looking for. But it's 24 hour set. It's still tacky. And I was very, very sure to get the mix set up with that. And so, yeah, totally not what I want. So what I'm trying to do is, yes, I could use actual metal, but then you're working with trying to grind things down and get them to the exact specification. Because I want to be able to use these stones. I have several that I cut like this. Because when I cut these, my plan was to make knives with metal blades. And I still will do that. I've got some throwing knives that I'm going to put on the block over the next couple of days. But I have a client interested in the floret handles with, I have one more of this shape of blade. And so, like this knife, oh, I just love how this one turned out. So this is a napped blade. I did not nap this blade. My friend napped this for me. And so Willie Jester napped this. And this is the fluorite that I mined in Nevada at the Pleiades mine. And I cut a groove in the fluorite. This is opalized fluorite that has been stabilized twice, actually. I cut a hole with a rock saw, and then I glued the blade in, and then I used this JB Weld clear, and I put, if I can get it to not glare, I put baby pieces of just little microchips of fluorite down in there. to set it in. And so when I was doing that, right, like literally right after that, I watched a video of my friend Lapidary Dave over on YouTube using some sort of Bondo like you use with cars, and he mixed this powder, this copper powder, and I just, oh my gosh, this has a bazillion applications that I can think of. And so it does look, you can see here, it did bring out some of the metallic. So if it was swirled in after you get your mix to get your color of another epoxy, I think this will work. So I want to be able to set my knife point, say it would go to there, and then the copper piece, and this would all grind and be a stripe of copper in there, and it would hold everything together. But that's where it's at now, and I did this live because I didn't want to force myself to do a lot of edits today. I had a couple of people waiting for these results. We've been talking about it, and I barely have a voice, and I'm just barely over this last run of flu. Feel really, really well, but my voice is still not there, and my energy's not exactly where I need it to be. So I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you watching and sharing my videos and all my content. I'm going to sign off, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Rock on.